Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a great evening. My name is Jacob Odell, and for my diversity field experience, I chose the LGBTQ plus community, and in particular, how being LGBTQ plus or in the closet affected your education. So the reason why I chose this is it's an extremely personal topic, and I know that we're supposed to pick something outside of our realm, but I chose this topic because I am a recently out gay man, and it has always been my goal, at least for the last about 4 or 5 years before I even came out, to find out how my experiences as a gay man in middle and high school compared to everyone else. And what I found out was that I lived a pretty similar lifestyle to the majority of people like me, and that made me feel a whole lot better about how I lived as a teenager. I've included a picture of the start of my coming out letter. It was a very emotional time for me, which is why I find immense peace in being around people like me because it was a rough time. So, why I chose this topic, it's personal. I was recently out. I wanted to know similarities and differences between my experience and someone else's. Especially, I was able to talk to people who have come out at my school, and we all came to the consensus that it could have been better, but it wasn't that bad. So, and I ended the conversation with what would be some advice for kids in the future who are questioning their sexuality. So, how did I gather this information? I had multiple meetings with Cannon River Crossing, a group that myself and a few other people started actually right before the school year started. We're aimed at making Rice County aware that we have LGBTQ plus people here and we deserve representation and we deserve equality. If you're not a straight cisgendered person, then you can be with us and you can still be with us, but there are people other than that here in this county. I went on coffee dates with a fair amount of people, actually, with three, and one of them is a straight man who is in the closet. He has known since he was roughly 14 that he was gay, but he's been married since he was 22, and he doesn't know if he wants to ruin his life, ruin his family life, or be happy with himself. And I found that that is a struggle that a lot of people in the closet deal with. Lastly, I talked to a few of my friends from high school on Facebook, and that's the majority of the information. So, what I found, and especially in particular with the Cannon River Crossing meetings and the coffee dates, was that the information I found was very, very blanketed and it covered mostly everyone, and I was kind of shocked by that. Um, we covered just the basics. When did you know you were gay? What was it like to feel that way, and what was it like to know? And how did knowing affect your education? Um, I found that the majority of people knew between the ages of 10 and 15, and it was interesting hearing stories about how people came to know. Um, One of my friends saw a picture of a woman, and she was just taken aback by how pretty the woman was, and that's when she first thought, well, that's weird. My friend knew when he was 13, and yeah, I'm not going to go into details about that, but um, how did knowing affect your education was a question that I thought drew the most personal answers because you're finding out information about how people, if they weren't out, how they chose to hide themselves. And you're asking a 14, 15, 16-year-old to hide their true feelings just so that they can make it through a day at school. That doesn't sound like the majority of your attention is on the education aspect. And it affected about, I'd say, half of the people that I talked to. It affected their education in terms of grades, performing poorly on tests, getting low grades, and no help from teachers because they were different. So it's things like that. Me in particular, I actually put all of my focus on my education, and I tried to push everything else into the back burner. Um, Positives we felt in school, the majority was support from friends, specific teachers. It's interesting to hear the types of teachers that we all kind of gravitated towards. The English, the art teachers, mostly women. Um, a niche to be myself was something that someone said, where he felt like he could go hang out with this group of people and he felt like he could be himself. No one else around him served that purpose except for his group of 4 people. And it's interesting that I I aligned with that quite well because I had my people, my friends, my support from a very specific group of friends, but I still wasn't able to come out to them. There was also talk of the LGBTQ alliance that the high school in Northfield now has. My classmates and I talked about it, but it was never a group that was actively encouraged to join. And one of our goals for the future was to booster and bolster this group in particular so that LGBTQ kids are more aware that it's there and that there are people and teachers in particular. We need more teachers able to stand up and be a part of that alliance, straight and LGBTQ teachers. Issues in school were coming out bullies and lack of authority, education in general, and overall general discomfort in school. Coming out was a tough process. Some people that I talked to didn't come out until they were in their 30s. I just came out at 27. One of my friends came out when she was 14, and I didn't even know about it. I was having the discussion with her, and she said that she started coming out when she was 14, and I had no idea. She chose to do it very methodically with the people she trusted, and I thought that was very valiant of her. I would have never been able to do that in high school, and yeah. So bullies and lack of authority. Bullies were a big time problem at Northfield High School, and one complete difference that I had with my classmates that I talked to was that the other 2 did not get bullied, while I did times 10. I had people posting Facebook groups and making fake Facebook profiles about me, while the other 2 didn't have that experience. And it was interesting to hear that from both sides and how different it was. Even in the same school for the same people, it was different. And then the lack of authority from teachers and administration, they didn't do anything about it when bullying was reported. And that was a blanket statement across the majority of the people that we talked to, or that I talked to. Education in general, mainly health, that was the issue. We felt like we weren't supported, and we were told that virtually being gay, you were going to end up with something, and it wasn't going to be good. So it's just never good to create that negative environment for LGBTQ kids. Lastly, the question was, what would you tell kids in the future who are questioning themselves? The main consensus was it gets better. I know it's so cliche, but every person nodded their head when I asked if that would be one thing that you could listen to, and it gets better. We want inclusion, we want more education, and we want wider acceptance of LGBTQ plus teens. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.